In order to add the functionality for the lightbox to our gallery, we're going to be using a jQuery plugin. This particular plugin is called Photo Swipe, and it is a plugin that allows you to add this functionality to an image gallery. If you go to photoswipe.com, you can learn more about this particular plugin, and they have demonstrations, they have a video that talk about it, and you can download the files that you'll need in order to incorporate this into your project here as well. I've already downloaded the files, so let me just show you what I have. Here are the files that come within the folder that I've downloaded, and you can see that there is quite a bit of content here. There is quite a few JavaScript files. Two of them are the jQuery versions of the Photo Swipe gallery, and two are straight JavaScript. There's a CSS file, which you're going to need that, and the CSS file does have some dependencies. It does use these 3 ping images, so you're going to need to copy these over into your directory as well. Inside the lib folder, there is a file called simple inheritance min. We're going to need that too. And if you want to see any examples, there's an example folder, and it has a bunch of different ways that you can incorporate this into your site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy over the necessary files that I'm going to need in order to achieve the gallery. And I am going to put these files in the particular folder structure that I'm already using. So let me just move this down so that I can see my root folder. I'm going to grab the simple inheritance min.js file as well as the code photoswipe jQuery min file, and I'm going to copy these into my scripts folder. Then I'm going to grab the photoswipe.css file, and I'm going to copy this into my CSS folder. And finally, I'm going to grab these 3 image files that Photoswipe needs, and I'm going to put these into my images folder. So now that I've moved the overall structure of some of these files, I am going to have to augment a little bit of the code, and so we'll be doing this as we create this example as well. In addition to the files that I've already put in, you can see that this particular plugin comes with jQuery 1.6.1, which is the version of jQuery that you're going to need in order to run this. As of this recording, the current version of jQuery does not work with the Photoswipe gallery. So just make sure that if you are doing this, if you use the current version of jQuery and the Photoswipe gallery doesn't work, it's probably because you're pointing to a newer version of jQuery. So you will need to either include an older version of jQuery or point to one that is being hosted elsewhere. I'm going to point to Google's repository of jQuery libraries and just make sure that I call in the 1.6 version of the JavaScript library. So back here in my file, I'm going to first go into my HTML, and I'm going to go into the head section and add the appropriate code for the files that I'm going to need. Currently, we're not using any jQuery, so the first line of code that I'm going to want to add is going to be the line of code that will add jQuery into my file. I'm going to include this right after I add my respond.js script. I've already gone to Google's APIs and found the 1.60 version of jQuery, which is also compatible with this. I think up to 1.6.1 is compatible, but I'm going to add this into my file. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a link so that I can link in the style file that I'm going to need to use. And I might just put an HTML comment here, just so I remember what is being added here. So I'll add a link tag and I'll point to my photoswipe.css file. Then I'm going to add 2 script tags, and I'm going to first add the inheritance.min file, and then I'll add the photoswipe-jquery.1.10.11.min. Notice that I am using the minified versions on both of these, which are smaller files. They've already been compressed down. So when you're going to production, you're always going to want to include the minified versions of the libraries. Now that I've added those into my file, I'm going to open up the photoswipe.css and just change the path to some of these images. So let's go to our version of photoswipe.css and open it into our HTML editor. So here's the file right here, and I'm just going to want to go through and find any instance of the image being added and point to where my images currently are. So currently I moved all of my images into the image directory. So from the CSS file I'm going to have to go up one level into images and then find the appropriate file. You don't have to set up your file this way, but I just like to keep things neat and organized, so I prefer to keep all my images in the images folder rather than elsewhere on my site. Alright, so now that I've changed those, I'm going to go ahead and save my photoswipe.css file, and I actually don't need this anymore, so I'll just close this up. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of script that will allow my file to use the photo swipe function. My personal script is going to need to come after all of the photo swipe dependencies are loaded. So once those are loaded, I'm going to open up a new script tag, and within the script tag I'm going to make a call to document ready. This is how jQuery works. You will use the jQuery $, and we're going to specify document. I'm going to use .ready, and then I'll run a function. And within that function, I'm simply going to target the A tags that are within my photo gallery. So if we look down here, you can see that the unordered list that contains all of my list items, which in turn contain my links, has an ID of photo gallery. So I'm going to use that as the selector. I'll use the jQuery $, and inside of parentheses, inside of single quotes, I'm going to use hash photo gallery LIA. That's going to be the selector that I want to use. And then what we'll do is we're going to put .photo swipe. And that's all the code that I need. If I save now and we refresh in our browser, here's the page, and if I click any of my links, you can see that they do load the lightbox. Now, the lightbox functionality is working. However, I am not seeing my images. So let's just find out what's going on with the path to the images. And now that I'm looking at my photoswipe file, I can see that I overlooked an extra dot here. So I only included one dot. It should have been two. Let's just update that quickly. And now if I refresh and I click on the images, I get the toolbar, and I can swipe through or click through to view these. On a mobile device, instead of clicking these icons down at the bottom, the user would be able to actually flick their finger across the screen and swipe, hence the name Photo Swipe. But you can see now we have a fully functioning gallery that displays our images at whatever size screen the user is viewing the website on, and there's a lot of additional functionality that's added, like an automatic playing slideshow, as well as the ability to get out of this full screen mode and return to the website. So this is a great enhancement that you can add to a project if you're in need of displaying images and you want them to act responsively, and it's fairly easy to incorporate this into your project.